Hey there, audio friends. Welcome back to the channel. Got an interesting review for you today, and that's from this little guy, which is a funky looking case for a true wireless system. And this is Hifiman Svanar, I don't know if I'm saying that right, something like that, system. So this was sent to me unsolicited by Hifiman, and you know, they haven't said anything to me about it. They just, you know, sent it to me, try it out. All right, so I actually got it when I asked for the Aria Organic, and they sent this along with. And you know what, I was kind of like, true wireless system, but you know what, I'm glad they sent it. I'm glad they sent it. So let's talk about this guy, and let's see if it's worth $500, because that's pretty expensive for a true wireless system. And yeah, I don't know. Let's dive into it. All right. Okay, so there's not a lot to talk about packaging here, right? Except the unique case, which is quite large. You know, I have mixed feelings about this case. One, I think it looks pretty cool. It feels just like regular plastic, you know. The issue, like the design, there's a couple of issues I have with the design, okay? USB-C for charging, that's fine. It's also wireless for charging, that's fine. The only problem is like, if you're not really looking at it closely, it's hard to tell which side's which on it, you know what I mean? Now, I've gotten better at this as I've used it over the last few weeks, but like literally at first when I was trying to put it on my wireless charging pad, like it would take me, like I'd be like rolling it around trying to get it on the right spot. It's the spot with the USB-C charging, which makes sense, but even still though, it's like, it's not as simple as you would think. So I kind of wish there was like a little bit different design to differentiate between that, but I mean, it works okay once you kind of get it all figured out, right? So the case, it's large. Now they talk about this being, well, it's got it's got battery life and all that stuff built into it, so you can recharge, you know, like 3 times, and that gets you about, you know, 15 hours of playback time or so on it. You know, they said that it's large, so you can accommodate a lot of different styles of tips and things like that, which, okay, all that sounds good. The reality, though, is just in your pocket, it's a bulky thing. It's not like an AirPods case or a lot of the true wireless cases where it slips in there and you barely notice it. I mean, you're going to know this thing's in your pocket, okay? And maybe you don't keep yours in your pocket. Maybe you don't mind it. It's just something to note, okay? Now, the actual IEMs themselves are rather large, too. But, you know, these are R2R, so they've got the Himalaya, Hifiman's like Himalaya R2R DAC inside of these. So, you know, obviously they're putting a little more in there than probably a lot of the true wireless systems go. They are ANC. They have touch controls. They do have kind of this ergonomic design to them, you know. But I mean, I wouldn't. IEMs are such a personal thing as far as fit goes. These are okay as far as fit, but they're definitely not the most comfortable thing that I've used, and they're certainly noticeable to have them, you know, in there, so that they stick out a ways. And again, I get a pretty good fit and seal with them, but it's not the best I've had. Your mileage is going to vary with that, right? So my overall use with these has been really, really positive, though. Like when we come to actually talking about like using the IEMs, them working well, connection, all that stuff, all that experience has been really, really good as far as it goes for me. I think the ANC is adequate. I doubt that it's best in class. I don't have like any of the latest Sonys or Boses or anything like that to compare it against to. I have a Soundcore, what is it? A80 Air or something like that. I don't know. I can't really remember. I'll link to the review for it, but my true wireless is like an $80 that I own, and I'd say it's on par, if not better than that, for ANC. Okay. So all that stuff works pretty well. The touch controls work fine. I like that, like, if I take one out, it stops my playback. That way I can talk to somebody or whatever, and then I can pop it back in. That's usually what I do, because they've got the little kind of wings on them here. That works fairly well for me to do that. So all my use for these has been really, really good. I honestly haven't taken a call or done any mic tests with it, so let's do that now, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about like the actual audio quality of these things. Okay, so how I like to do these audio tests or these mic tests is I just use my iPhone, and I just do voice memos on it, and I just talk. Well, now that I'm looking at it, I'm wondering if it's recording. I don't know. Hopefully it's recording through the through the scanners here. So you tell me. I don't know what the mic quality sounds like. I'm guessing it's not great. I've never used a true wireless system and thought that the microphone quality was great on it. I'd be surprised if this one was any different, but here you go. We know what it sounds like now. Okay, so back to the meat of the review here, right? Which is, how do they sound? Is it worth $500 for a true wireless, IEM system? And I would say maybe it is. Honestly, the sound quality on these is far better than any other true wireless system that I've heard, with one caveat, which we'll talk about here in a minute, right? So, I mean, I feel like as far as giving you an audiophile presentation for music in a true wireless package, I'd say these hit the mark, right? The frequency response is much more neutral, audiophile, whatever you want to call it, compared to something like a Sony or an AirPods or my Anchor, Soundcore thing. I really like the presentation of this. The frequency response is quite flat, I would say, in a good way. And nothing's really like accentuated or over the top. Certainly not the big boomy bass that you get with like the default sound for most Sonys that I've tried. So it's really a really nice presentation. The timbre is spot on, I would say, on these guys. Like, wonderful timbre to them. And I thought they really do a good, like, nuanced spatial information of the music. I thought that they do that really well, which I never have been able to say that about a true wireless system before. So I was fairly impressed with the sound of these guys, and it's something that, like, with true wireless systems, I always have this in the back of my mind when I'm listening to them. I'm going, I'll be listening to a song, and I'll be enjoying it, and then I'll go, man, but I wish I was listening on something else, honestly. And I don't really get that feeling with these guys. Now, is that to say that it's better than something like, let's just say like the Blessing 3s here, on a BTR7? No, these easily beat it in sound quality, right? So if you're using probably a comparably priced, or even like these are $300 IEM that's wired, are you gonna get better sound quality? Probably, if you got one that suits your preferences and all that. Now, the one caveat I have with that as well is I use an iPhone, so I can't do LDAC. So maybe LDAC is magical and would put you over the hump on that mark. I don't know. I can't comment on that. But with an iPhone, with AAC, it doesn't best the Blessing 3. That being said, though, I mean, they sound really, really good for a true wireless system, and there's a lot to be said about having that convenience, right? It's kind of like a camera, right? What's the best camera? Well, it's the one that you've got on you. What's the best headphones to listen to music? Well, it's what you've got on you, and if what you've got on you is a true wireless system, then you want it to be reasonably good and compete, which I think this does. So that being said, right, you're going to get better with a dedicated DAC amp and a reasonably good wired IEM, I think, okay? So for probably a cheaper price, right? But these are really good for a true wireless system. The one issue I have with the audio on these guys is there is a noise floor. And is it really noticeable when you're listening to music? No, most of the time not. But you know, sometimes at the start of songs or the end of songs where things are like fade in or fade out, or there's little quiet parts, yeah, you notice it. And I kind of think that's a pretty big knock for a $500 true wireless system. But that being said, once music is playing, you forget about it, you enjoy yourself, it's not a problem. The one area where I felt like this was kind of a major problem was when I was listening to like Audible audiobooks, because there's not enough going on, so it's pretty noticeable to hear the noise floor in that situation. At least it was for me playing from an iPhone. Okay, so that's what I can speak to. So conclusion, I'm impressed. This isn't something I thought I wanted or would use very much. I was initially quite skeptical when I saw the case and how big it was, whether I would actually want to carry it around with me. But basically the long and the short of it is that I have been carrying it with me every day, because I do think the audio is that good, and I want to have it available if I decide I have some time to listen on my hands, you know, while I'm at work or whatever. So I think they're a win. My biggest critique is of the noise floor. I do think some work could be done on ergonomics and making it a little bit smaller, tighter package to make it a little more friendly on the go. But all in all, I think it's, I don't know if this is Hifiman's first true wireless system, certainly one of their first, and I think it's a pretty good effort at that. If you're not balking at the $500 price tag, I think they're worth maybe taking a look at. So thanks to Hifiman for sending them out. What's your experience with these? Have you listened to them? Do you have an opinion on them? Would you spend $500 on a true wireless system? Or are you good using something like a Blessing 3 and a BTR 7? Drop those comments and opinions down below. As always, I appreciate your time. I appreciate you watching, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one real soon.